Welcome to the Home Team, the show where no matter who you cheer for, here you're a part of the home team. I'm your host, Wyatt Bagnall, and today we are going to be previewing tonight's matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. Before we jump in, hit like, hit subscribe, share this video to anybody you know who likes football. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Without any further ado, let's jump in. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to Atlanta and take on the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. These two teams have been very interesting to start the year. The Buccaneers are currently 3-1, beating Washington, Detroit, and Philly, with their one loss being a shocker to the Denver Broncos. And the Falcons are sitting at 2-2 right now, with wins over Philadelphia and New Orleans and losses to Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Both teams, in terms of how they're grading out and where they rank in terms of the performance of their team, is somewhat similar. So for the Buccaneers, their offense has graded out as 10th and their defense at 11th. Their special teams are at 31st, but I think special teams is a little bit more volatile. And just so everybody knows, I use Pro Football Focus, so this is where I'm getting my information. And then that overall, their team averages out between those three to be graded out as 10th overall, which I think feels pretty appropriate for the Buccaneers. In the top 10, certainly, and I think that if not for their special teams having a couple blunders, they'd be a little bit higher, and I think that that's accurate. And as for the Atlanta Falcons, their offense grades out at 11th, their defense 16th, but their special teams are at 20th, which gives them a little bit of a bump up to 8th overall. I think that the special team swing isn't something I consider a whole lot, and I look more at what their offense and their defense are doing. Unless your special teams is truly atrocious, it shouldn't be something that has too big of an impact for you. So overall, what I see is two teams that are grading around the top 10 on offense and then upper middle pack defensively. And as a result, that should make for a pretty interesting game tonight. The way I go about this, as you would know if you've watched any of my videos before, but if you haven't, what I like to do is I like to go position by position, and I'll tell you who I think has the advantage at that position, and then tell you totally who I think technically, if we're just looking at the roster, whose roster is better and who quote-unquote should win, and then I'll tell you if I think that that's accurate and if I think that they will actually win, and if not, why I think that that won't be the case. I also always give out a home team advantage for the team that has the crowd with them. So for this game, that's the Atlanta Falcons. So the Atlanta Falcons get a 1-point home team advantage. As for the quarterbacks, we got Baker Mayfield against Kirk Cousins. Normally, I would say that this is a wash, but I think Kirk Cousins is still finding his footing a bit post-Achilles injury. And with the way Baker Mayfield's playing, I'm actually going to give him the slight advantage here. I wouldn't be shocked if you were to tell me that Kirk Cousins was to come in and play an awesome game and potentially outplay Baker Mayfield. That is completely within the realm of possibility. But until I see him look a little bit more comfortable and driving the ball more outside the numbers, I'm going to give the edge to Baker Mayfield. Running back, though, that's where the Falcons got a very clear edge there. Bijan Robinson's one of the best in the league. Tyler Algier is their backup running back, and he's at 1,000 yards in this league. So the Falcons' running back room is very, very impressive. That's not to say that Tampa Bay, doesn't have anything going for them back there. Rachaad White is a competent enough back, and I don't think that the Buccaneers necessarily struggle to run the ball, but I don't believe that they have the level of weapons that Atlanta can deploy. You know what I mean? So up next is the wide receivers. This is one where I am very, very much torn. I have a very hard time telling you that Tampa Bay shouldn't have the advantage here. My main question is, do I think the Falcons have enough to make it a tie between the two units to say that they're both decent? And I can't say that quite yet. I think Drake London is very good, but I think that Tampa Bay's got a little bit more depth. So I'm going to give the edge to the Buccaneers there. Tight end, though, I'm going to give them both a point here. And I know that when you say the names Kyle Pitts and then Cade Otton, you would think that I would give the edge to Kyle Pitts. However, I know everybody loves to be well, they just aren't utilizing him. They just aren't doing that. At some point, we have to ask the question of why has no regime been able to make it work with him? And Kyle Pitts right now is a 53.9 PFF grade, which is 53rd out of 76 tight ends. And Cade Otton has a 51.9, which is 56. So they're within 3 spots of each other, and they had a difference of 2 yards receiving. So ultimately, the tight end position is not being utilized by either team. So I'm going to give them both a point because nobody deserves an advantage at that position. Offensive line. This is another tricky one because I actually believe that both these offensive lines are pretty decent. The best offensive lineman in the game is Tristan Wirfs for the Buccaneers, but I believe that the best overall unit is probably Atlanta, particularly on the right side with Chris Lindstrom and Caleb McGarry. Jake Matthews is, a solid player. He's been around a long time, and everybody knows that, he's a veteran. He's not going to be taken advantage of by any means, but the Falcons' offensive line has seen some injuries, and it makes me think just a little bit. But I'm going to give them the edge just because I believe that they're a little bit more cohesive as a whole. Defensive line, I'm going to give that to Tampa Bay. Vita Vea is the best defensive lineman in this game, in my opinion, but Grady Jarrett and Matthew Judon are both good. They're solid players, but they don't have much beyond those two. And I think Tampa Bay, while not being super great, honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I'm actually going to give them both a point for that. They both are pretty similarly built. They're a little top heavy, and they're a little bit top heavy with not much depth behind it. So I'm going to give them both the edge, not the edge, but I'm going to call that a draw. Linebackers, that's going to Tampa Bay. Levante David has played very well. The immortal Levante David somehow is still playing very, very well. And I think that that's a real testament to them. I'm also going to give a shout out, though, to a player on the Falcons who's playing decent at linebacker. We just don't have a lot of, evidence yet. And that's J.D. Bertrand. He has come out and played solid. He's got a 92.6 grade. The only issue is we don't have a whole lot on him outside of special teams. So he's played well when he's been in there, but we need to see a level of consistency. So there's a potential that the Falcons could have somebody that flashes at linebacker, but that's certainly not enough to overtake somebody like Levante David. Defensive backs, this is a tough one because both these secondaries are actually playing quite well. Between both these secondaries, I'm going to give them both a point because A.J. Terrell, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, a lot of name value there for the Falcons, and they have played up to it for the most part, the two safeties in particular. And I'm very impressed with that. There's a reason why their defense is playing better than last year, and in many ways it's because they're just not getting burned as much. And then for Tampa Bay, they actually have the corner that's grading out as the highest in the league right now in Zion McCollum. We'll see if that continues, but it certainly shows that he's taken a leap. And then they still have Jim Dean on the other side, who's also playing well. If Antoine Winfield was playing, that would be much better, and I would really feel confident about giving them this tie. I'm going to do it just because, despite not having names, the Buccaneers secondary is playing well, and I believe that they should be able to maintain that going up against a division opponent who they know very well. So I'm going to give them both points there, and then head coach is the only other one that I'm going to give out a grade on here, and that is pretty simple. I don't like to give the advantage to a rookie head coach until later in the year when I really have an idea of what this guy is and how he's coaching this team. So for now, I'm going to give the advantage to Todd Bowles just for experience. The Buccaneers defense has been playing very well. The Buccaneers offense has been playing well, and he gets a lot of credit for those things. So overall, that gives the Buccaneers an advantage of 7-6 over the Falcons. Do I think that that is correct and that the Buccaneers will win? Yes. I think that the way Tampa Bay has been playing has been inspired. I think that outside of that one weird hiccup to the Broncos, they've looked really consistently good. And unless Atlanta this is the week where it all comes together and Kirk Cousins really finds his stride. They've been a little bit too inconsistent for my liking to be able to pick them over a team that started the season hot and in many ways has been one of the more consistent groups in the entire league. So until I see Atlanta show me a little bit more of a steadiness, I'm not going to pick them to beat a team like Tampa Bay, who for the second year in a row has come out and shown that they're not a team that should be dismissed. So, and speaking of somebody who dismissed them, I'm going to give them their flowers now and show a little humility and just say that Tampa Bay beats the Falcons, even when I picked the Falcons to win the NFC South. So, that being said, hit like, hit subscribe, and I hope everybody enjoys the game tonight. Peace.